This is V0, and this is basically like ChatGPT.
These tools are really amazing, but we need to use it in a way that gives us the output in a phase-wise manner so that we can extract maximum value from them. Hey everyone, this is Akhil from Product Space. Today we are having a special session with a super exciting guest, someone who's not just following AI trends, but actually building real impactful AI products. Let's welcome Jorge Alcantara, co-founder and CEO of Zentrik.
Hello, Akil. It's my pleasure to be here and looking forward to talk about all of these interesting aspects.
Awesome. George, thanks so much for joining me today, and I'm really looking forward to an excellent conversation and explore some of the amazing tools you've been building and leveraging in your day-to-day tasks. Um, George, if you could please give a personal introduction about yourself so that the audience could know more about what you've been doing in AI.
Of course, of course, I come from Madrid originally. It's been now 12 years in the United States. I have spent all of my career around AI. I did start in big data, but quickly moved to building chatbots, semantic search, some of the first transactional conversational experiences here in the US and globally. And through this experience, I've had the chance to work for software teams in all manner of companies. We have implemented this type of solutions for companies ranging from small startups to Fortune 500, from Samsung to Microsoft to Airbnb and many other tech companies. Throughout all of this journey, I've had the pleasure of working with amazing engineering teams, with amazing product teams, and learn how the best build value and how the rest fail to do so. And so today I am on a mission to help every product team that I can touch build the best products they can.
Awesome. Thanks, George. Thanks for such a introduction in a way wherein we could really sense like you have so much depth in AI, and I'm sure the folks in the session today are going to learn a lot. But George, before we get into the CS stuff, I have a few questions for you that our audience might be interested to know. So, is it okay if we start from there?
Yes, absolutely. Whatever you want.
Awesome. You build a product in under a month, and many YC companies also nowadays use 90% AI generated code. What do you think? How far can AI coding tools take non-technical creators?
It is a very good question and one that doesn't have a single definite answer. It is one answer that will keep changing as the technology does. To preface it, I will tell you that I don't think that today you can build a full-fledged a unicorn business without coding knowledge. No, you can though have an initial version that you can put in front of people that you can even use to raise funds. You can even create value for a good number of people without technical knowledge. You will eventually hit a barrier when you need to scale, when you need to serve businesses that will have determined requirements for compliance and security. But the reality is that you can build any web app idea that you have. No, we're still farther from embodied AI or having it touch the real world, but you can really build anything that you want today. At least a first version that you can iterate on. There's no excuse
Yeah.
today to start building.
Awesome. I think thanks, George. Thanks for sharing a perspective on that. I have another question for you. For someone with zero coding skills, who wants to build an AI product, what's the most practical way to get started?
That is a very common question these days. The one thing that people will need when you don't have coding skills is only determination and a good product sense. To your specific question, if you have absolutely no coding knowledge, you should aim to learn a little bit of the technology behind the code. You don't need to learn the syntax of how to write it, but you need to be determined and trying and building things, seeing where they break until you have a good enough understanding to solve your own bottlenecks. That means failing, trying hard and failing hard. What my practical first step recommendation would be, and we'll get into more of this later with the demo, would be to build something small in scope that you can start sharing with people to gather feedback on. If you have no idea, you can actually clone an existing website, or you can create a mini game. That latter one is the easiest one to start getting feedback on. I have had occurrences of building a mini game in a couple of hours that then friends kept asking me for the link to, because a game can easily be quite fun to interact with. No?
Awesome, awesome. Thanks, George, for sharing your thoughts about getting, for someone to get started building products without zero coding skills. It definitely mean that they definitely need to have some kind of understanding about how to go about understanding the technology behind all the things that are powering these ecosystems. Thanks for sharing that. I have one final question. I don't want to make it a Q&A. This is the final question before we get into the action. Based on your experience with AI coding products, what is that one task you never trust AI to do in product development today?
Mm. Today is the keyword there. Well,
Yeah.
I think that it will evolve, and I don't want anybody to quote me on this 3 years from now. But there are two areas in particular where today you should always be prepared to use human judgment and skills, and they are completely separate, each from each other. So one is, as we alluded to, security and data protection. You need to have ironclad design and architecture to be able to defend your position for compliance reasons. You need to also make sure that you treat your client's data with the utmost respect. And just as a quick sideline, I was collaborating with a founder only this week, and I realized that her app that has garnered hundreds of thousands of users has a big security hole in that one document that she uses to share between her platform and another platform is completely exposed to the public during the time in which the transfer is happening. This transfer happens for over 30 seconds, but it's still this is a clear gaping hole that will make this company not be able to sell into businesses if the businesses know that this is happening. And if the businesses don't know and they buy, and this is not in the terms of service, which it wasn't, they will need to either pay a fine, lose clients, or worse. So it is very important, it is primordial that we have our data privacy and security down, and for that we need professionals today. Second one, and I'll not make it too long, is experience design. So AI, particularly these Lovable, V0, Replit, etc., can do a pretty good job a user interface design one by one, given your constraints and your intent. But it is not very good at designing a whole flow for a product, for a feature. You need to do a lot of work with it for you to have a final good experience design. And the majority of times, even that would not be sufficient. You need to put your thinking hat on, understand your users, be empathetic, and
Yeah.
design an experience that you would love to interact with. And those are two areas where I still see is the next frontier for AI applications.
Yeah, that sounds like interesting perspective, and those are a couple of interesting areas that the AI has still to explore, and looks like product managers' jobs are going to stay, and yeah, because they still have to be in a leading position and be able to use the products. Yeah.
I'll add a little bit more about that because I do think it's a very important line, and I wouldn't want to it to go unnoticed. Product managers are quite safe, in my opinion, but every job has a degree of unsafeness right now. Every knowledge job that can be done more efficient also means that depending on how the company attacks that efficiency, that may put jobs at risk. It may either increase value for the company or reduce bodies that are needed for that value. So every job can be at stake. So it's important for everybody to reskill. Now, to your point, product thinking is, in my opinion, the skill of the future. As
Mm.
development will get commoditized little by little, and engineers will stay as architects, product managers will be the most needed role in the core of what product managers do. It will not be about moving tasks from A to B, it will not be about defining PRDs, it will be about understanding users and deciding how to best solve their problems. And that product thinking, that product sense is gonna be with us for a long time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because uh, not sure like if we can rely on judgment or product sense with AIs at least for now until AGI is probably it's couple of years before unfolding. Awesome, George. Thanks for sharing your perspective on that. All right. I think we should get into the fun part. And George, you've been building AI products. One of the tools that really caught my eye is the LinkedIn Analytics dashboard. We all know LinkedIn is a powerful platform, but tracking performance, engagement, and impact is quite difficult. Can you show us how it works? Like maybe walk us through some of the key features and how AI makes it smarter?
Absolutely. I will do you one better and show you actually two quick demos, and then we can go into detail of how they are done, no? But this is so also your audience gets a feeling of how these tools work. So this is V0, and this is basically like ChatGPT in that I can have a conversation with a system that is based on LLMs, that is taking actions and creating, editing different files that together make up the web application. This is mostly working on one same stack. So it's using JavaScript and TypeScript on both sides. And in this case, I wrote absolutely not a single line of code. And even with that, I was able to solve a problem for me as a user. And that is what Akil was pointing to. This dashboard that I've shown him as well before, that I've shown you, is one prime example of what you can do as a user with what I call ephemeral apps. In this case, I had a problem. LinkedIn Analytics is terrible. It doesn't show me cumulative growth. It doesn't show me insights. So what I built is a little dashboard that actually takes in the export that LinkedIn gives you and takes that information completely offline and produces the insights that I wish I had. I am right now actually building that the second part for the LinkedIn API connection, but only with this I was able to, in one evening, in a couple of hours, even less for the first version, have insights of when are my best posting times. What are the top performing post metrics in comparison to the rest? No, what is the frequency that I've been posting on, and what is that correlation to the growth of my followers? No, and so all of this information is very aspirational, very useful information for me to have to make my work better in the future. But I did not have it at all. And so now I have a little web app that I can use every day to check on my data. Something that I've also shared widely, and now other hundreds of people are using it, and anybody can take it and make it their own by forking it and creating their own version. And that is the whole of B0 in a nutshell. It is a conversation where you can create these assets that are full web apps that you can actually fork and share within your organization with friends so that others can continue to iteratively build upon them. And in line to what I was telling you all earlier, the thing that I would recommend you all start with is a little game. In this example, I've built one for product managers. If we had the sound turned on, you could also see that this has specific music and sound effects. And it is aimed at teaching people that do not know about product management what it feels like to be a PM. You can all try this on your own, but basically, this is the type of thing that I would encourage you to build so that you can share something easy with your friends and that you can start to gather feedback and actually be your own product manager, particularly for anybody that is between jobs. This is an amazing time not only to learn new skills, but also to practice those product skills with the tools that you have available today. So why wait to hone those product manager skills until somebody is employing you when you
Yeah.
can actually build your own product and start iterating on those today?
That was super insightful, George. In fact, I've been also using LinkedIn for quite some time and recently quite active. And trust me, the one thing that I do when I open my or start my day with LinkedIn is like looking at the insights, how many followers I have gained, or was the impressions on my post. And a lot of times I do feel like, okay, these insights are not good enough for me to make meaningful interpretations out of that, right? That was super insightful, and I'd love to use it. And if you can share it to our audience,
I'll
that's
share
so
the link.
amazing.
Yeah.
And
Of
that
both.
game, yeah, yeah. That game is something definitely we can share it to the aspiring product managers, and they'd love to see, okay, what it feels like to be a product manager. Now let's switch gears and get a bit hands-on. One of the major problem that a lot of product managers are facing, George, is applying to the jobs, right? And the job market is scary. Do you want to build something around that concept, or do you have any problems in mind that you want to solve and build products for product managers?
Mhm. Well, there are two questions there, and I would like to separate them and leave one for later. The first one is about how to go about, like, doing something for them. The second one is what we've already done for them. But our work is not so much for product aspiring managers, but rather those that are actually and actively employed and working on big products. So. We, just to give that little teaser, and we'll come back to Centric, we're helping complete product organizations revamp how they plan and how they execute. We are building a system for product management in the era of AI, where things are moving so fast that you shouldn't be on the weeds of what to do this week with engineering, but rather managing the 20 initiatives that you have ongoing, what are their specific states, and have AI find where to help in every step of the process. So we'll get onto Centric a little bit more, but to close out the loop on the build out process, I think your question was pretty good on what can we do? What could be a good example of something that we can do live that product managers could enjoy or could use for those that are either aspiring or between jobs or even in a job looking for their next opportunity. No?
Awesome. I think post that we would also love to see how Zentrik as a platform is adding value for in product development process end to end. So if you can also give us a demo at the end of this live hands-on would really be helpful for our audience, George.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, let's get started with
Awesome.
the beginning of a product flow, and we'll get to centric when we get to planning and execution. Sounds good?
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. Let's get on.
Yes, there are, I think, two main flows here, and we will get into planning and execution in more detail. For the prototyping cycle, there's something I'd like to share, and that is that it's not only for individuals. It's not for a product manager to just play around and build something that a couple of friends will use, and that's it. I think that this all can append completely how we approach the product development lifecycle. We can expedite a lot of the areas, and because of that, create new iteration cycles. And so for that, I want to share just one quick slide that I prepared for a talk at University of San Francisco last week. That is my thoughts on how this should work. And then I'll show you exactly how I would do it at a practical level.
Awesome. Yeah, let's get to it.
Perfect. So here is my modern flow for prototyping. I do think that right now, the flow that used to take months, particularly for the user testing and build out, now you can even do in a couple or 3 days. The important thing, of course, is to have a very clear idea of what is the problem that you are taking on, identifying what is the area. So this applies even if you're an individual person or a team. You need to really understand what the problem is. For that, you also need to do research. This implies talking to users and using some tools that I'm going to show you right now. You need to gather all of that and make it into a set of requirements of something that you're going to test, that experiment. What is the thing that you're going to prototype and why? What are you trying to learn with that prototype? Then you will build it out and you will of course, not have a first perfect version, but you will build on it until you have what you want to show to users. This is particularly important in this type of AI flows. Now, the important thing is that once you have the UI, the interactions that are enough for you to test what you want, you will be able now to connect it with the external system of record. This may actually be the real APIs, it may be fake mock data. And the one thing that I always recommend integrating, if you're going to share this out with people, is PostHog or a similar analytics platform. And if you're going to use any LLM interaction, you should incorporate a data flywheel. That means incorporating evaluations from OpenAI or a similar source. Finally, you will want to share this out and gather all of that data from those users and how are they getting the most value out of that little prototype, out of that little mock. Now, how does this work? I generally recommend doing, of course, user interactions, but you can start just thinking about it with one of those LLMs. I, of course, love using Claude, but Gemini has an amazing new version. And if you need to understand the market, you can use Reddit Answers, Gumroad, G2 Reviews, or deep research LLM systems so that you can actually understand that problem a little bit more. But further, you can actually use tools like synthetic users, Wiser, or others to explore your audience in bulk. What does this do? In this case, I told the system that I want to explore the audience of aspiring and existing product managers looking for a new job. And this tool, Synthetic Users, creates a complete synthetic plan for a synthetic research in that it identifies where the different audiences that may be interested on my product and how those audiences are defined. Once I am happy with the study, for each of those, I can actually run a complete set of interviews. This is, of course, fake data, but it does a mom test kind of exercise to ask them questions. Each of these individuals, fake individuals, belong to different demographics or groups within our study, and we end up with a comprehensive report of key insights, challenges, and key learnings. This is something that should not replace human research, but it is an amazing place to start. What I do next, if I'm building something completely on a vacuum, is that I will export or copy this study and then bring it into Gemini or a similar tool where I will copy my whole executive summary of the key findings within a large prompt that I can share as well, where I am asking for a complete set of requirements.
Yeah.
It is these requirements generated from an LLM that then I will use to copy into V0. Now, I know this is a long-winded process, but basically what we've done up to here is get our initial idea and take it up to the point in which we're very clear on what we're going to build and where we know that what we're going to build is going to be feasible with the tools that we have available.
Awesome.
Before I continue, go ahead, Akil.
Yeah. So I think, George, what I've seen people doing with these LLMs is simply go and type some comments in terms of the outputs that they're expecting, and they want the LLMs to change the world for them. Instead, on the
Mhm.
are not aware about limitations of these systems in terms of hallucinations, or do these systems have enough context before giving you something, right? So I think this is something super interesting to understand. Okay, the first process is to define the requirements really well, and once that requirement is defined as per the target audience, you go and create the requirement document for these products or tools, which would really give you an MVP version. So that is quite nice, and thanks for sharing it. So I think what you have done is, like, you've taken the requirement from Gemini and you have started it in V0, and it started building the product. Is it?
And it's going to take a while, so we can talk about it a little bit more whilst it does. Yes, precisely. You can add a little bit more context if you wanted for the D0, if you wanted to add images, for example, of the styles that you're after or something like that, you could do that.
Mhm.
But the important thing is what you were highlighting. The requirements make a big, big difference. And also, we could go over why I have the prompt that I have, but you will be able to notice that this is not a normal requirement. We are actually specifying the specific libraries that we will use and providers that we can actually use that we because we're limited by v0, no? If you were using a different one, Replit or anything else, in the prompt that you use to generate those requirements, you will need to specify that very clearly. The
Awesome.
other thing that is very key is this development phases. One thing that people fail a lot in doing is that they try to have B0 do everything in one go or too little, and then they took too long. So the ideal is that you actually have a set of development phases where each of those could be executed in one prompt. So this is exactly what we're asking Gemini to think for us, to create a set of phases that are for the LLM to execute on and that make sense for the capabilities that we have. And as you see, we've already defined a lot of the technical details, but the most important part is that the phases. Why is also this super useful? Because now the LLM has a complete knowledge of what are going to be my phases for development. So as it develops, when it finishes phase one, which as you see is what it is executing now, it will basically tell me what it has done and asking me if I want to continue with phase two. So my next prompt only needs to be, please continue or go ahead with phase two. I don't need to now reevaluate and understand what is your current state. The problem with, as you say, that full like vibe coding flow of just like, hey, build me an app that does something, no? Is that you're gonna find one thing that you liked, another thing that is interesting but you didn't ask for, and then three things that are there that you didn't like. And the process of eliminating those and making it into a product that you really want to have will actually consume so much context from the conversation that by the time that you get to the product you want to build, it will not perform. So this is really an advice that has three parallel but important impacts on your work: quality, alignment, and value. Without a good idea of what you're going to build, you're just playing, which is fine, but you need to know what you're doing when you're using these tools. Either you are playing and you're just exploring and building a fun game, or you're actually using it for professional work. And if you're doing the latter, you need to do it with a mental model that aligns with it.
Awesome, awesome. So basically, what you're trying to highlight, George, uh, these tools are really amazing, but we need to use it in a way that gives us the output in a phase-wise manner, so that we can extract maximum value from them. And as the development is happening, we need to define the project or the requirement in multiple phases, right?
Mhm. But the phases is one of the most important parts, and the other thing is to understand what are the limitations of the tools that you're using.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay.
And make sure that those exist. So for example, you want to have music in your game, for example, no?
Hmm.
But these cannot necessarily create music, only bytes of music. So you will know that you will need to go to another system for the music, like Suno, and create the music that you will then download and upload here.
Looks like our
Here
product is
we
ready.
go. Mhm. So we have a system that where phase one, we basically probably only had the UI.
Okay.
Yeah, it's only the login, project setup, main layout, and placeholder pages. So basically, it has a landing page where we can see also some sample companies of the different ones that it has listed here as mock data, but it doesn't do much right now. We do have a full login and sign up flow, which is impressive. Uh, yeah, a full account doesn't work yet. That is expected. Now for phase two, it already tells me what it would, expect to do. Setting up the backend, implement real authentication, great. Connecting the front end, creating.
Looks like in
Perfect.
phase one,
Mhm.
looks like in phase one we've got the prototype, and without giving much of a load to V0 to work on. And
Precisely.
we first iterate a lot on prototype, and once we are fine with the outcome, then we can ask it to go ahead and build more tech functionalities. Is that what you're saying?
Perfect. Yeah, that's exactly also what we wanted. It gathered some images, it created the layout for everything that we need. So now it's actually just about functionality. If I read correctly, there's some other pages too that we're not seeing here. There may be some on the about. There is quite a bit of boilerplate code written down, no? So if you look at this correctly, this may be about north of 1,000 lines of code plus some images that it has found for us to attach to random places of the site. And the next stage will be functionality.
Awesome. Let's see this product in action, George. Let's see what this product can actually do.
Great. So now it's done. As you can see, it's a lot of files that have been created and edited. We do have, again, in one interaction, like 500 new lines of code. And interesting. In-memory database. So this is basically ephemeral memory that will die when we close the app, but it still is great for prototyping, an authentication system for login, register, etc. So let's try that out. Of course, this will be something that as you go, you will find bugs that you will also need to fix. Not everything you need to fix either, because in a prototype, not everything needs to be perfect. You may not even need a user login, for example, but because the system has done it for you, sure. We have actually been able to generate an account. We can see our own profile. Great. We can see companies. We cannot see yet details of companies because, as we can see, everything has been centered around the user interface upgrades. And then the third phase will be the company list and details page. So that is slowly how you would build a full product. And as you can see, I actually could have been building complete something else on the side, and this would have been built for me. I have only sent like 2 prompts without really very little thinking from my side, which is also what would make this not a great product. That is what will actually make mine, each of your ideas, shine. So, just keep iterating, but here you have a proven method to actually get a complete product in just a few prompts without any technical knowledge. And
Listen.
that's where we are.
Awesome, awesome. That looks like really a problem solved, wherein we are building products in phases, right? And it looks like, okay, first we built prototype and made the product functional, and then we've
Hmm.
to making it making much more detailed in terms of the flow. Awesome. Thanks for doing that, Josh. Uh, I think we can move forward and know a little bit more about Zentrik, because at product space and a couple of other friends that I've been in touch, they're really having the good time with Zentrik, because it is ending us up saving a lot of their time. And I'll probably talk about it in the end, and let you do the talking and explain how Zentrik helps new age product teams.
Of course, we have built it specifically for that objective, so I'm very happy to talk about it. We have seen that about 60% of the time that product managers spend today is on menial tasks that doesn't necessarily require their capacity or knowledge. So we're set out to actually transform how product teams dedicate their time. We want to save all of their time, if possible, for good product thinking, for good strategy, for good decision making. We want to give them the data, we're going to give them the tools. So we are envisioning Centric as the platform for product management of the future, the control board where you can stay at an strategic level without going into the mud. You shouldn't be every day putting out fires. You shouldn't be every day answering small, silly questions or updating documents or creating 20 JIRAs. You should be deciding where your company should go. So, what
Awesome.
does Centric do today? Centric helps you understand how your product works today, define what it should do for your users tomorrow, and help you chart a path from A to B. The first thing that you will notice when you land on Centric is that you will have an onboarding flow where you're asked about your product. That basically will just pull a URL from you, and we will do the necessary searches to get a good picture of what you do and how you do it. That will imply understanding a little bit about your stack, what are the key performance that you care about, the personas that you serve, the features that your product already has, and of course, a good and clear mission. We use these then to suggest, if you don't have them, or take the ones that you do, if you do, the objectives and key results that should be guiding your efforts. This is, in our opinion, very important for companies to understand because you need to know how your effort impacts your outcomes. We want to make every product team an outcome focused product team. And you cannot be one if you don't know what your objectives are. So we help companies generate them if you need to. You can do it with natural language. We will have some by default as well for you. But the important thing is that these speak to you. So bring the objectives that you care about. You can connect your Jira, and we will understand what is your complete production team working on this, from designers to database administrators and engineers. We will understand how your sprints are organized. And with that information, we will be able to take any single idea, concept that you want to play with, or even a full PRD, which is what I will show now, and transform it into an implementation ready plan. How do we do this? Is we take everything little by little. We take your PRD, we break it down into important sections. For each of those sections, we understand what questions we may have for the AI to do a good job at completing that project. We will identify what are the tasks that every different type of engineer, designer, QA person will need to do. We will assign tentatively those tasks to individuals to give you a complete map of dependencies, different work for different people, and a specific plan that you could go and execute on. That will mean timeline with milestones, tasks, specific sprints, and of course, everything that goes in between those aspects. You can, in just a couple of seconds, get a good idea of what are the functional requirements or user stories that you care about. All of these will be linked together so that the tasks trickle up to the user stories and that you can know what is the possible impact that your initiative can have on your system. Whenever we use an AI to make an estimation, we want you to the final version of that. And that is why we give you always a reasoning and a hypothesis of what our system is thinking so that you can see if you align with it um, somewhat or not at all. No, we do this for every project until you have a complete set of initiatives that you're considering executing on or not. And that is where the dynamic road mapping system that we've built comes into place. You will have things change in reality. And as reality hits your plans, they will need to change. Today, it is an impossible game of continuously redoing roadmaps. We propose a new way, which is living with dynamic roadmaps that are able to adapt as everything changes on your system. Say that a task got delayed by 1 week. Say that an engineer has left the team or is sick for 2 weeks straight. You will need to replan your whole timeline. Doing that manually is an absolute pain. But now with Centric, because we are completely synced into your Jira, we understand when your current plan is stale and when you need to come in here and decide on the strategy to execute to redo that plan. So just by moving little boxes, just by deciding on a strategy to apply, you will be able to have a complete new plan that is executable. And we know it is because what we're running on the background to make sure that this can be enacted is that we are evaluating how busy everybody on your team is for every day of the future and evaluating how they will work on each of those tasks so that when we give you a plan, it's not only designed to maximize your outcomes, but it is also feasible. And with Centric now you can have both of those metrics always in hand. And whenever you have a new plan that you're happy with, you just publish it to Jira. All of the tasks will be updated with their updated assignations, due dates, etc. And you can just continue executing as normally. During the week, you will just leave on this dashboard where you will see what each of your teams is working on, what their possible blockers are, and the summary of things that we think that you should take a look at, from things that may be blocked to capacity constraints to other external dependencies that do not depend on engineering. And this is how we believe that we can make product managers become control masters and stay at the strategy level rather than be documentation owners that spend all of their day just pushing paper.
Awesome. I think that that looks a wonderful demo and definitely looks like the product which could really fast track a lot of day-to-day tasks and the visibility that the teams or the product leaders needs nowadays in terms of how their roadmap is functioning, how to handle if a block risk come. George, probably I have not mentioned it to you. I'm also one of your client at Product Space. Our team has been using it for almost a month now, and we really create a roadmap probably in a day, right? In terms of
Hmm.
deciding on what to build and breaking down that specific PRD into the user stories and then further taking it into the development, right? And it really gives me and the entire team decent visibility in terms of what they're going to impact on or what are different experiments and hypotheses that we are running, right? So thanks for showing us a demo, and I can really say that okay, anyone who's giving basically trying to look for such tools or products which can kind of help them in their day-to-day problems, do give it a try at Zentrik. It's of course free to start on, and if you see the value, definitely yeah, you can connect with George to help with further plans. uh, awesome, George.
Precisely. I would encourage anybody that is curious to also reach out, contact me. We do
Yeah.
have a free tier available for now. But if you're curious to see more, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to set up instances for other people, particularly anybody that is very interested on AI and the future of work and how it relates to product management. And I'm your guy.
Awesome. George, this has been such an insightful conversation. In fact, AI is seamlessly reshaping how we build products and have shown us how to make it real. Before we wrap up, any final words of wisdom for PMs, builders, or AI enthusiasts watching this?
Mhm. Yes, I do think there's one key item in what you've said there. It's particularly for product people, and that is the mentality that until now, product people had to try to not be builders because they needed time to do something else, no? They needed all of that time to be managers, no? And I do think that the manager part of product manager is gonna be decreasing and the product part is gonna be increasing. So be prepared for that shift. Look at where do you excel, what are you missing, and identify. If you really like building and problem solving, go all in on that. Start identifying problems that you alone even can solve. You can even work at the same time for a company as a product manager and build your own side business. And I'm not saying that to make you rich. I'm saying that because there is nothing more rewarding than identifying a problem and being able to solve it and actually helping people. And you will find the joy. And once you find the joy, it will not be employment will not be a problem. Once you are motivated to do something and you're excited in the morning to wake up and solve something, the rest of it is just pieces that fall into play. So don't attack the symptoms in that sense, attack the cause. And really, one thing inspirationally that I would like to leave everybody with, there has been no more interesting time to be alive. There has been no more interesting or great time to be a builder. Like today, we are in the perfect inflection point in that not everybody has access to this, and it's still wonky enough that you do have to make a little effort to make it work for you. So but you can make it work for you. So those people that have the intent, that have the drive to make something, is today where they can really build something great that others cannot. If you have the determination, you can put your minds together to actually build companies that bring amazing user value today. Do not take too long, or anybody can do it, and it wouldn't be possible 2 years ago because you didn't have the knowledge of the tools. But today is possible. So don't wait any longer. Finish this session, yes, but then go off and start thinking of what's next for you. Go build amazing things.
Awesome. Thanks, George. Thanks for sharing your perspective on how PMs, builders, and AI can take it forward. Uh, Folks, if you love this conversation and if you would want to get access to the products as we built, do drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you really need these documents, do ask for it for sure. We'd be happy to share it with you. And if you like this conversation and needs more of it, don't forget to like, subscribe, and yeah, if you have any specific ask or request that we should do a podcast on a specific topics, we are always here to help and keep building awesome stuff and sharing knowledge. Thanks everyone once again, and yeah, keep learning AI to make the world a faster place. Awesome. Thank you everyone.
Thank you, Akhil.
Awesome. Thanks, George.